Today I would like to show you how you can use the profile setup to set up your batterymetric device to manage any battery type that you may have. In an earlier video I had shown you how you can use the quick select method of setup, which allows you to input just 3 parameters and have the software select all of the default test parameters that are required to perform the battery management session, charge, discharge cycle, whatever it may be. However, if you wanted to have more control over all of the parameters so that you could specify a unique situation for your battery test that's required, then you can use a profile setup, and then you can select any profile value you want just by inputting it. And I'd like to demonstrate this today. So let's have a look at the battery console software. This is the software you use to manage, control, and collect data from your batterymetric device. And you will notice on here there are 3 tabs in the upper right hand corner. The quick setup, that's what I talked about in an earlier video. But in this video today I'm going to look at the profile setup. So we'll just click the profile setup tab and we'll talk a little bit about that. As you can see, there's a profile name, and you can create your own profiles, save them, copy them, and have them ready to go. You don't have to input these values every time you use it. You can just create a profile that's going to be applicable to your situation and then use it whenever you need to use it. So you can just select from some of these ones that are listed here. There's a 10-cell NiCad, an SLA battery. These profiles are just sample profiles. You will have to look at the parameters yourself and decide what parameters you want to use in each case. And you can select one of these profiles and just modify the parameters, or you can create a brand new one if you want. There's no limit on how many profiles you can have. So I'm just going to run a few test sessions here using the profile setup, and I'll show you how that's going to work. If we have a look at our system, what we have set up today, system configuration, you will see we have 6 channels currently online. On channel 1 we have an MK201. That's an open board battery test module that can charge and discharge up to 1 amp. In positions 2, 3, 4, and 5, you'll see we have 4 channels. That is a MC2020 quad machines. So each of those 4 channels can handle up to plus and minus 2 amps for 20 volts maximum. And each of those channels is fully independent. You can control them and have different tests running on different channels. And you will also notice on channel 6 there's an MC2050. That's can accommodate a higher current, plus or minus 5 amps. So we already have some batteries hooked up here, so let's just see what we've got. On channel 1 we actually have at the moment a single cell lithium ion battery hooked up, and as you can see in our real-time data section, currently it's 3.7 volts. And I'm going to show you how you can set up the profile to match that battery type. So in this case we'll just see if we have a 1-cell lithium ion profile already set up. We do. Number of cells 1, rated voltage 3.7, rated capacity it's actually 1.5 amp hours, so I'm going to change that to 1.5 amp hours. And battery ID, you can just put in some comments or notes here under battery ID and comments. These are items that appear on the screen and in printed reports that help you identify the battery that was used for this test session. And for charge parameters, well, here's where we can start to have custom control over our parameters. If we had to use quick setup, it would have just used a C divided by 5 for the charge and discharge rate, which would have been 300 milliamps in this case, since we have a capacity of 1500 milliamps. So I would like to charge this at, say, a C divided by 3 rate, which would be 500 milliamps. So I'm going to put in 0.5 amps for charge current. And the voltage regulation, 4.2, that's fine. Minimum charge current termination, this is what will generate the charge termination. Once we're in voltage regulation, the current will begin to taper, and once it tapers below this value, the charge will terminate. I'm going to raise that up. I wanted to charge it a little bit sooner. You're not going to get that much extra charge by going lower, so I'm going to go 100 milliamps would be good. Maximum input, that's if you wanted to limit how many amp hours went into the battery, you could terminate the charge that way. Maximum charge time limit, you can also set that. So you can see there's different parameters that you can select from. These parameters are also dependent on the battery type you chose, because some parameters are only applicable to certain battery types. So when you select the profile name and give it a battery type in this first field, the parameters that apply to that battery type will be displayed. So you'll notice that as you change battery types. We're going to do a charge on this one, so we don't need to set any of the discharge parameters. I'll show you a discharge on another channel, but let's just begin this session now. We'll load these values in by selecting charge, and we can start the session by either connecting a battery, but since we already have the battery connected, I will just hit start, and the charge session will begin. And as you can see, we asked for 500 milliamps of charge current. The software is actually showing 499, so that's very good. We will just let that proceed for a while, and I will show you how to set up another channel. If we went to channel 2, we actually have a 8-cell NiCad on here. So we will just switch our profile to a NiCad. I don't see an 8-cell NiCad, but that's fine. We'll just make the changes. Cell rated voltage in this case would be 9.6 volts. Rated capacity, I happen to know, is 800 milliamps, so 0.08. And I wanted to discharge this battery, and I would like to go a little bit lower than what the quick select setup would do for a lower cutoff voltage. Perhaps I want to exercise this battery a little bit more. So I want to go down to 0.9 volts per cell. So let's set the discharge low cutoff voltage to 7.2 volts. So that would be 0.9 volts per cell. So as you can see, we've been able to specify exactly what we want here. We've got our discharge current. For discharge current, I think maybe I would like to do 0.4 amps, so we'll discharge at 400 milliamps to a lower cutoff voltage of 7.2. There's some other parameters there that we don't need to use at the moment. We will begin the discharge by loading those in and starting the session. Click Start. And we are now discharging at 400 milliamps. So we've been able to set the parameter to exactly what we want. There's lots of other options for terminating the charge, or if you're doing discharge, and there's other options for pause and number of cycles, what have you. You can browse through those and use the ones that you need, that you find that are applicable. I'll do one more on channel 6. I happen to have a 3-cell NiCad. And I would like to maybe quick charge this one. So if we wanted to do a 1C rate on a battery that had a capacity of 1.2 amp hours, that means we would want to charge at 1200 milliamps. So let's do that. Let's charge 1.2 amps. And since it's a NiCad, we would want to terminate on negative delta V. It's already set at 45 millivolts. That's pretty good. That would be 15 millivolts per cell for a negative delta V charge termination. So I'm going to load this in. And we'll start the session. And we've got now 1200 milliamps flowing into this battery. So that's a fairly quick charge. That'll charge in 1 hour. And that will be good. We'll just go back and see how our other channels are doing that we set up. On channel 1, we were doing a charge. It's been charging now for 4 minutes, and we're up to 2.5% of charge input. On channel 2, we're discharging. We have an output of almost 2% at this point, and that will proceed until our lower cutoff voltage is reached. I believe we set it to 7.2 volts. Once that is achieved, the current will shut off, and all of the accumulated data that's been displayed here will be transferred into the results data, and that will be visible for you to view or print until such time as you start a new session. And on channel 6, we should see our 3-cell NiCad, quick charging here, fairly quick rate. Looks like it terminated. Negative delta V. So this battery is already fully charged, and so it terminated right there, and it's gone into now a trickle charge because that was what was specified. Under charge, trickle charge. Again, that would be a parameter that would only be applicable to a NiCad battery, or NiCad only. Nickel metal hydrides are not trickle charged. So you can do other batteries. You can do sealed lead acid. You can set up a primary battery if you wanted to do a test on a primary battery. And I hope that was informative. If you want to learn more, visit www.batterymetric.com. And I hope that's informative. Thank you for watching, and we'll talk to you another time. Bye now.